Please confirm you can see my screen. All right, thank you very much. So we stopped at state function. Okay. So that means we are almost done. So before I commence, any question based on what we've done so far? Any clarification based on what we've done so far? Any question, you can unmute yourself because any question, you can unmute yourself if you have a question. Okay. All right, thank you. So I'll assume no question. So we've actually looked at a whole lot of things since we began. So we looked at VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, index and match, if error, the date function, the logical statement, uh, the duplicate, removing duplicates. Okay. All right. So for today, we should be. Did I share any data sets ahead? The data is not here. Okay, so I was saying that if I want to go to my Power Query, for example, so Power Query basically is just an advanced way of doing our analysis instead of us doing the normal way whereby we write functions, we just keep on doing it manually. So Power Query helps us to automate those steps by just clicking and clicking, and we already get our output. Okay, so how do I get to Power Query? So you can come to data. So when you come to get data, can you see get data? You will see get data. So under this get data, we have different ways whereby we can get data. Now you can get data from Excel workbook, from CSV, from XML, from JSON, from PDF, and from folder. You can even get from database down to Azure, right? So now the question is, how would you even know the type of data that you want to get? So that is pretty easy. So let me imagine that I have a data here. Let's say I have a data here. Okay, let's say I have a data here and I need to get maybe this data. Now, if I enlarge this place, can you see type? So here, you can see type. So if I expand what is here now, you see that there are different type of data inside this folder. I have the one of Microsoft Excel workbook. Then I have the one of Microsoft Excel, separated value. Also, Microsoft Excel, separated value. So whatever the type of data your data is, that is the type of data that you are going to get from. Okay. So now let me head back. So let's assume, okay, let me look for a data here. So documents. Okay. So now I'm assuming that I want to get one of these data here. So let's say I want to get this clinical dashboard data set, for example, right? Now, when you look at this type here, on this type here, you can see Microsoft Excel worksheet. So that means the type of this data is Microsoft Excel worksheets. So meaning if I want to come and get this data now, I will have to go back and get the data. If I want to get this Adidas US store data now, I'll do the same thing. So let me just copy this data and put it in my desktop. Okay, I think I have it here now. So let's go back. Guys, are we on the same page? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I will now come back here. Then I'll come to data. From data, I'll locate get data. So I'll come to this get data. So where am I getting data from? I want to get data from my local machine. So that is why I am selecting from file. So in some Microsoft Excel, you might not really see get data. You might be seeing from Excel workbook directly. So if you're seeing that, you can just select that. So the essence of this is I'm trying to import my data into my Excel environment. That is what I'm trying to do. And I need to specify the type of data I am bringing to the Excel environment, right? So now this one is Excel workbook. So I'll click on Excel workbook. Then the next thing is my system will try to locate where the workbook is located. Okay, then I already know that the workbook is located in my desktop. So I will select desktop, right? Then this is the data that I want to get, which is Adidas US, whatever. And I will say import. Now, the moment I say import, it's going to load another interface. Okay, so this interface is going to give me two options, either to transform my data or to load my data back to the Excel interface. So if I click on this transform you're seeing down here, so this transform you're seeing down here will actually take it to another interface called the Power Query Editor. So in that Power Query Editor is where I can do all my transformation, whether I want to clean the data, whether I want to see some level of pattern. Do you get it? So I can do all the transformation step there in the Power Query Editor. And it is 50% more faster and efficient than using the Microsoft Excel. All right. Now, if I don't have anything to transform, I will just load the data, right? But then we still want to transform. Another thing to take note is you can see that I have more than one worksheet in the Adidas store data set, right? I have the data sales Adidas, I have the location, and I have the product. Okay, so for me to select a multiple sheet, I need to ensure that I toggle on this select multiple item. Okay, now after I must have ensured that I've done that, so let's do that. So the moment I check that, then it activates this. So if I click on any of this data, it's going to show us a preview of how the data looks like. Okay, let me expand this so that we can see better. So can you see it's showing us a preview? Location is also showing us a preview. Products is also doing the same thing. So I need to check the sheets that I want to import. So I want to import the products, the location, and the data says Adidas. These are the three sheets that I want to import to my environment. So I'm going to say transform data. So the moment I say transform data, it's going to load Power Query editor, right? So you can see the three tables here. I have the products table, the location table, and the data sales Adidas. So these three tables are here already. Now, if you look on the ribbon part, we have the file, the home, the transform, the add column, and the view. Okay, now let's look at it one by one. On this home button now, we have the close and load. So the close and load is useful. The function of the close and load is after we are done with our cleaning, our transformation, right? Then we click on close and load. So that is the function of the close and load. Now for the refresh, this is just to refresh our data, right? Okay, we have the manage. This is if you want to manage, right? If you want to manage your query, want to manage it. Then we have the choose column. So you can decide to choose a particular column. We have remove column. Okay, if you want to remove a column, we have the keep rows. So if you want to keep duplicates, you want to keep errors, you want to keep top rows. So this is what the keep rows does. Then we have the remove rows. So under these remove rows, we have remove top row, top column, remove duplicates, blank rows, remove errors. Okay. Then we have the sorting, whether you want to sort ascending or descending. The split to column, don't forget, the split to column is actually useful when you want to split one column into so many. So now you have the option. Are you splitting by the delimiter, or you want to split by number of characters, or by position? So you can see different splitting method here. Then for the group by, so group by is just a way of so for the group by, it allows us to group our data together. For example, maybe we have a data that has gender and that has salary, right? So we now want to find total salary against the gender. So meaning we are trying to group that salary based on the gender, that is either male or female. Okay. Then we have the use first row as header. So for this use first row as header, there could be an instances whereby your data. Okay. If you look at this data now, you can see that column 5, row 5 rather, row 5 is supposed to be our header. But in this case, our header is on the row. So in that case, if you want to do something like that, after we might have removed the top row, we will need to use first row as header. Or probably when you have a case whereby the rows are now serving as headers, you can now say use headers as first rows. So I'm just trying to explain all this one by one. Okay, then we have the append, we have the merge query. So the merge query is when you want to bring one data to another data, you want to bring them together, right? You want to join them side by side. That is the essence of merge query. So, and under the merge query, we have different kind of join. So we have the inner join, we have the left join, we have the right join. So we have the cross join. So in which we will be explaining much more later. Then for the append is you're trying to bring one data below another data. That is, you're trying to bring a data above another data. So in a nutshell, two data being joined together to become what? To become just one single data. But in the case of append, two data are coming side by side together to become two large tables. Do you get it now? Okay. Then I think that's that on this part. Then for the data sources, if you want to change your data source, you can do that. Then for the transform, so under the transform, we have so many functions too. From we have the choose column. If you want to choose a particular column, we have the keep rows. We have the okay, I think we've looked at all of these. Okay, sorry. Okay, so under this transform, we have data type. So if you want to change your data type, you can do that here. We have replace value. Okay, in the case of Excel, what you'll be saying is find and replace. So we have the fill. So under this fill, we have the fill up and fill down. So we'll also be looking at what fill up and what is fill down. So let me just explain. So imagine this column of column 1 that we're seeing that has null, retail, foot locker. Now, if I select this column and I say fill up, so what the system is going to do is it's going to take the data just before the null, right? It's going to take the data since it's fill up. So it's going to come from bottom and take the data just before the null and fill it up. Fill it up with that same data. So in this case now, if I say fill up, that means row 4, row 3, and then row 2 will now be what? Retailer, retailer, retailer. But if I say fill down will not work here because the first data that we have here is even null. So there is nothing for the system to see to say it wants to fill down, right? So that's fill down for us and fill up. Okay, then we have the pivots column. So probably your data was in pivots table, so you want to pivot it. So you can actually do that here. Okay, then we have the split. I think I spoke about the split. Then we have the format. So under this format is where we have our lower, upper, proper, trim, clean. Okay, and we all know what all of these does. Then for the extract, so extract is you want to extract some, probably you want to extract characters from your data. Are you trying to extract the first character, the last character, a range of characters, text before the delimiter or text after the delimiter, depending on what you want to do, okay? So we have the statistics where you can do different kind of statistics from sum to maximum to minimum to medians, standard deviation. Then we have the scientific. Okay, so then we have the date time. So this date time, we have the dates rather. So the dates is actually useful if we want to extract some sort of dates in our data. Probably we want to extract the daytime, the day name, the days of the week, right? So similar to the dates that we did in Excel, then we have the time, we have the duration. Okay. Now under the add columns, so for the add columns is we have different tabs there. We have the costume column, we have the column from example, and we have the invoke column functions. So for the column from example, you can actually extract a data from the column by selecting it. So the system knows, okay, this is the example you're talking about. Then for costume column, if you want to build a new column from the scratch, so by passing some kind of a formula, so you use the costume column. Then for the conditional, for the invoke column, that is useful if you have a condition that you want to pass into a column for it to work, right? Then duplicate column, you want to duplicate a column. All right, so I think that's that. Then under the view, so I know a whole lot of us will be like, my Power Query editor is not looking like the way yours is. So you can actually do yours also like that. So when you come to this view, so you can toggle on this column quality to give you all this quality. Then you toggle on this column distribution to show you the distribution of your column. So for example, maybe you now want to see the descriptive statistics of your numerical column. You can click on the column and still come to this column profile. So this column profile is going to show you the count, the sum, the minimum. It's just going to show you the distribution of that particular data that you have. Okay. All right. I think that's on the explanation. So before we move forward, let me see our reaction to confirm that we are following. So let's see your reaction. Let me see our reaction to confirm we are following. Guys, let me see your reaction to confirm we are following. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, so let's go back to it. So now I want to clean this data. So let me start from products. So when you want to clean your data, I think I've explained this before. The first thing is you want to ensure that the data is in the right data type. Okay? The data is what? In the right data type. Now, if you look at this column, the first thing here is having column 1, column 2. That is, it doesn't have an header. So let's look at the data. So if you look at this data, the first column is showing us products with different products. And the second column is showing us image URL with different URL of the image. So that means in this case, one of our column is now in place of a row, right? So what do we do here? So in this case, we can just say use first row as header. So what the system is going to do is it's going to take this first row here and use it as the header. So how do I do that? I come here, I'll have to come here, then say use first row as header. So by the time I do that, automatically, it's going to use that first particular row as header. Now, when you look at this, when you look at my right-hand side here, all the steps that we are taking, the system is actually taking record of it, all the applied steps. So if probably you took a step and you feel you were not meant to take that step, you can actually delete those steps to return it to its original state. So what am I trying to say in a nutshell is Power BI does not have Control Z or Control Y. But what it has is this. So when you want to undo something, you come here and delete that particular step. Okay. Now the lesson is, let's now look at the data type. So how do you know the data type? When you look at this, this is the column header, but beside it, you'll be seeing ABC or 1, 2, 3 or whatever. So that is the data type. So as we know that product which contains men street footwears, men Atlantic footwears, women street footwears. So we already know that the data type for that kind of data should be a text. So I can easily come here and check. So when you click on this ABC or 1, 2, 3 that we have here, you see different data type that you can actually select from, right? So if text is, let's assume maybe it's not text that is there, I can now come here and select text. I'll do the same thing for image URL. Image URL also is supposed to be in text. So in this case, it's already in text. All right, so let's move to the next column. The next column is location. Guys, please confirm we're on the same page. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself. Let me confirm we're on the same page. Okay. All right, so let's move on. So for this particular one now, you can see column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4. And our main column is starting here on row 4. You can see region, state, city, and location key. That is, what this is trying to tell us is our column header is starting at row 4. And from row 3 up are null. So in this case, what do? So that means we have to remove the top rows. So how do we remove top rows? So when you come to this remove rows and you click on the drop down, and you click on this drop down, can you see remove top rows? So if the rows that you don't need, the null that you don't need, if they are on the bottom, you say remove bottom row. So in this case, I will say remove top rows. Now, the system is now asking us how many top rows do we want to remove. So if we can't, we have 1, 2, 3, meaning we have 3 null, right? So I'm going to come here and say 3. And I'll say, okay. By so doing, it automatically removes all those particular first 3 rows, right? Then the next thing I want to do is to replace the first row as my headers, so that all these column 1, column 2, column 3, I'm saying they can now be my column, okay? So I will now come here. Can you see use first row as header? So I'm going to click on use first row as header. You can see that the moment I do that, the first row automatically becomes the header. The next thing is I'm going to check the data type. So let's check. For region, region is in text, which is fine. For state, state is in text, is also fine. For city is in text, which is fine. And for location key, it's also in the right data type, which is also fine. And now let's move to the last one, which is data sales added. Who can tell us what's wrong with this data? Who wants to tell us? Mr. Wale, do you want to tell us? Mr. Wale? Okay. So if you look at this data here, it's similar to what we have been doing since. Okay. So we are also going to remove the top row and at the same time, now use the first row as header. So we are still trying to repeat the same process. So I'll do the same thing. I'll come here, remove top rows. So remove top rows. So how many rows do I want to remove? In this case, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll say 4. And I'll say okay. So in that regards now, I've actually removed the top row. Then the next thing is I want to use first row as headers. So I will say use first row as header. So in this case now, our data is let's say 50% clean and structured, right? Now we now take the columns one by one and ensure they are in the right data type. So retailer is fine. The ID is fine. The invoice date is in date. The transform location key rather is fine. Product is fine. The price per unit. So for price per unit should be currency. Okay. Unit sold, we can leave it that way. Total sales should be in currency. All right, then we have the operating margin. We have the sales method. So you can see that we are 50% almost done in our process. So that's one of the intuitive parts of Power Query. Okay. Now, let's now say maybe we have a null in our date, or maybe, for example, I want to assume there is null in some of these dates, and we need to fill them. This is quite easier, right? We can just right-click on the invoice dates. When you right-click, you can see so many options. So when you go to fill here, you can see fill up or fill down. So depending on whatever you want to do at that moment, so you can actually fill up or you fill down. All right, so now if you also want to change this to uppercase or lowercase, so for example, like this column, I want to change the uppercase, I will click on it, then come to transform and go to format, right? And I will say uppercase. So you can see automatically it converts all that column to uppercase. If what I need is lowercase, can do the same thing. If I want to trim, do the same thing, and everything will be fine. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Just give me a thumbs up if no question. If no question, just a thumbs up. Okay, so that's that on that. So now let's now look at the data type. Have I look at it? Okay, I think I've looked at the data type. Yeah, I stopped at have I look at it? Okay, yeah. So for the operating profits should be currency. Then margin, this should be in percentage. Okay, yeah. So now that I'm done with the transformation, with the cleaning, I can now close and load back to my Excel. So from there now, inside my Excel, I can now start visualizing that particular data. Do we understand? Any questions so far? Any question? Let me see our thumbs up. Any question? Any questions so far? Okay. So now that I'm done, I can decide to close and apply. But then let's say I want to create some formulas inside this particular column. So for example, maybe we want to get the profit, my operating profit, we want to minus it from the sales. I'm just saying, for example, so you know that's like a new column, and that new column too, it has its own tag name. Okay. So what do I do? So I'm going to come to transfer add column. So under this add column, I will say costume column. So under this costume column, I'm going to give it a name, the name of the new column. So let's call it maybe profit different, for example. Now the formula now. So don't forget I said that should be the sales minus. So let's look at the column. Okay, we can say total sales minus what? The operating profit. So we'll say this minus. So I'll select the operating profit and also say insert. So you can see that the system is now showing to us that no error found, right? And I will say okay. So automatically, the moment I say okay, the system goes back, install an extra column to it. Do you get it? All right. Any questions so far? Okay, so since we are done with this, can I go back, come back to this home? Can you see close and apply? So I can now decide to say, okay, let me close and load. So when I say close and load, it's going to close this interface and load it for us to start dissecting the data for analysis. Okay. So let me say close and load. You can see at the moment I say close and load, can you see that we have the data cleaned and everything. So basically, that's the way that is the way the pivot table works. So you can do, I said pivot table, the Power Query works. So you can do a lot of things in Power Query. Okay. So guys, are we on the same page? Please confirm you can hear me. Are we on the same page? Hello, please confirm you can hear me.